This conference will now be recorded.
Hi Naveen, very good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So I'll just come back. I need to drop my kid. I'm a little late. Okay, I'll just quickly come back. Please stay back, okay?
Hello.
Hey all, I'm back. So, okay. Hello, am I audible?
Ah, yes, sir. Naveen, can you say what's today, na? Then we can study or we can practice well.
Yeah, I'll share it along with
Okay, yeah,
example. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Class notes means the material only which I have. I will share it. Okay, and you will be getting videos right through Drive,
yes,
session
I'm
videos.
getting every day. Yes, I'm getting.
Okay, so you will get the same recordings. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah. So we were discussing about Spring Core. What are all the features Spring Core container it has, right? Spring Core it has container support and as well as the many other features. One of which we had started discussing about dependency injection, right? Spring Core module which we are discussing, which came along with Spring Core jar file and context jar file. That two jar files we are using. The main thing which we need to learn from it is IOC containers, IOC containers, which are really like embedded containers, will help us to manage all our MVC classes. All our MVC classes are implementing like posers only. So whatever use case you have, for that use case, we're going to implement multiple classes. All that classes are simple posers, simple posers. We implement. So when you want to make a call between each other class, a call between each other class, basically this poser classes, if you consider A, B, C, D, E, all these are poser classes, right? So these poser classes we can able to run on IOC container by configuring all these poser classes in our Spring XML file. We configure all of them in our Spring XML file using bean tag, all the A class and B class and C class, D, E, whatever number of classes you have, all the classes we configure here. And once we load this it into IOC or Spring application context, right? Application context is IOC container class. It's embedded Java class given to us in the form of jar file only. Along with your Spring Core context jar file, this classes also will come. Okay, so you need to use this class to load your XML file. So whatever classes, whatever all the classes you implement, you just need to configure them in XML and you need to load XML into context. That's all. It will create all the objects for your classes. So it creates objects of all your classes as singletons. Singleton means for entire application only one time object initialization will do. Only one time. Only one time it will create objects. If this is the consider if this is the login form. If you consider this is a login form. If it is a login.html and you are submitting username password from here, username password for logging in, and for doing this username password checking and all, right, I have implemented this classes, poser classes. Okay, I have A controller, B service, C like DAO or any other services, right? I have 5 classes. Consider I have 5 classes for achieving this login use case. So my execution flow should go this way. It need to call, my form should call A class, and then A should call B class, B should call C, C should call D, D should call E class. So this is how my flow I want to execute. Okay, so that's the reason I implemented this many classes. for my login form, I need this many classes. If you consider this many classes you need for your login form, who will create these classes objects first before execution? When you start your server, it will create objects of your all of your classes as a singletons. Okay, singleton means what? Even this username password, the logging user is Ashok, right? Is he Ashok or Ravi or Suri, whoever it is, right? Whoever tried to log in from here, and whatever number of times he tried to log in. Ashok logging every day 10 times, Ravi logging every day 10 times, Suri logging every day 20 times to his application. So though these users are calling 40 times, 50 times a day from this login form, this ABCD classes objects are not going to create that many times. Only when you start your server, only when you start your application context, only that time only objects will be created. That's what we call it as singleton. Singleton means only one object, only one time object will be created for entire application life cycle. For entire application life cycle, only one time object will create. Though here if you are doing millions of requests, only one object will serve your purpose. Single object should be enough. Single object should be enough. You need not to worry. Though the users count is very high also, you no need to worry. One object should be enough. So your application context will create only one single object for each class. For A class, one object. For B class, one object. For C, one object. And for D, only one object. For E class, only one object. Only one object initialization will be done by your IOC container. That's what we call it as singleton. That's what we call it as singleton. Okay. If it creates singleton objects, it will take less memory in your server. So if you are running your application on somewhere in Azure or AWS, you have a limited RAM space, right? It will not consume much space as only one object you are creating. Instead of singleton, if you configure it as prototype, if your green is prototype, what will happen? If you are getting 40 requests a day, 40 times your objects will create. So 5 into 40, 4 into 5, 200 times objects will be created. 200 objects will be created only for 5 classes, 200 objects. If it is 1000, 1000 into 5, 5000 objects will be created on your machine. So instead of creating 5000 objects, 5 objects would be enough. So singleton would be recommended. Singleton would be recommended. Now from this use case for doing logging, right? I want to call A class, A want to call B class, B want to call C, C wants to call D, D wants to call E. So when a class wants to call another class methods, we can say that another class has a dependency. So A class wants to call B class, so B is dependency for A, and B class wants to call C class methods, so C is dependency for B. C wants to call D, so D is dependency for C, right? And D wants to call E, so E is dependency for D. Okay, so when you have such dependency, one class dependency into another class using dependency injection, right? Using dependency injection, you can inject it. The next thing what it will do, the container will perform dependency injection. First it will create object, then it will start dependency injection. It will start the dependency injection. Okay, yesterday I shown you one simple example by taking a simple poser class. I have a simple poser class, right? We took a simple poser class like fuel. Fuel is having fuel name. Fuel name is a dependency for this fuel class, so we created a setter method. We know the dependency injection we perform in two ways. One is using setter method or one is using constructor. We injected a simple string fuel, a string value we have given fuel name, and to deal with the string, how we passed it in our bean while doing bean configuration. Bean class, we have given our bean class name here, and between bean and bean, right, between bean and bean we have used property tag to call setter method. We used a property tag, property, your setter method name, right? Set fuel name, we called our setter method name and given value here as that is string. Here I need input is string, right? When the input is string, you can use value attribute. When the input is string, not only string, if we have integer input also. Value we use for which cases? If we have string or any other data type, primitive data types. Okay, any other primitive data types. It can be a string, or if you have any primitive data types. Let's say I have a cost here. I have a cost. For cost, I have set cost. Cost is integer. If you consider the cost or price is integer, into cost or price, into price. So I want to pass price also. How to pass price? Same way. Property name, right? Field price or field cost, value. Here also you need to use value attribute only. Same value, okay? Value for strings and primitives. You need to use this value attribute to pass your string values and primitive values. So 10, using double quotes only, you will pass here 10. Okay, even if it is string or integer or float, use double quotes only and pass it. We use double quotes only. Internally it will do the typecasting. As you required integer, right, it will typecast this string form, right, we have here. It will typecast this 10 into integer and it will pass here. Okay, so when you have simple primitives, we can pass that using value attribute, right? Simple string inputs or integer inputs or float inputs. When your bean class is having simple primitive inputs, when it has simple primitive inputs, you can use value. So what else inputs a class can have? What else kind of inputs a class can have? Anything, any dependency it can have, not only primitives. The dependencies are this list, right? Dependencies can be anything, anything, right? Anything is possible in Java, so anything can you inject. So what else different data types we have? What else different data types we have in Java? So the dependency can be not only primitive. Your bean class may have, right, the dependency types. String dependencies it can have, a simple string dependency it can have. Array of strings it may have, array of string dependencies it may have. Simple string dependency or array of strings you may need to have. simple primitive Simple primitive dependencies like integer, float, double, right, char, boolean, any primitive dependency you can have. Any simple primitive dependency, again primitive arrays also you may need, right? Array of primitives, array array of integers, array of primitives. Yes, you can have simple string dependencies, array of strings as a dependencies you might have. Simple primitives you can have, array of primitives you can have. And you can have collection simple collection dependencies you can have. You can have collection dependencies also. A collection dependency like, we have array list, we have set, map, properties. This type of dependencies also you can have, right? You can have simple collections and required collections. If you have any custom collection, required collection dependencies also you can have your custom collections. Something if you implement your own collection, or else which is default providing. Spring will provide default collections, right? Instead of default connections, when custom collections or required collections if you want to inject, that required collections dependency injection also you can do. These all are not major dependencies. A class may not have these dependencies. These all are may not major dependencies for your class. The major dependencies, what a class can have, a class can have other class as also a dependency. Other class as a dependency. As a dependency also. One class may have another class as a dependency also. Okay, a class can have another class dependency also. This many dependencies a class can have. Anything apart from this? Anything. So almost all the possible dependencies, right? You can inject anything. You can inject anything into your class. It can be primitives, strings, right? It can be collections, and any other class dependency also you can have. Everything you can inject here by using setter method. By calling setter methods, you can inject anything. Everything is possible here. Everything is possible here by using setter dependency injection. Okay, already we understand how to inject simple string. In case if we have array of strings, if we have array of strings as a dependency, consider we have a fruit class here, and fruit class is having private string array of fruit names I want to pass. Array of fruit names. Array of fruit names I want to pass. How to pass them? Of course, you need a setter method here. You need to have a setter method, set fruit names, and you need to pass array of fruit names through the setter method, and you can associate to instance variable. How to pass these values? You need to use again call property tag property to call your setter method, and your setter method name is set fruit names. And now I need to pass array of values, right? I need to pass array of values property. So earlier we used to pass a simple value here. Earlier we used to pass a simple value when we have only one value. Now I have array of values. You can pass array of values using list, right? When you have array, use list to tag. Here you can pass multiple values. Here you can pass multiple values. Here you can pass multiple values. Value 1, apple, then close value. So this is how you can pass list of values here. You can pass list of values when you have array dependency. You can pass array of values using list and list. When you use list and list, right, internally it will convert based on your dependency. As it is array dependency, right, it will create a array, string array. In that string array, in index 0 it will add apple, in index 1 it will add mango, and that two values will be passed here. These two values will be passed here as a array. Okay, when you have array dependency, you can use list. Same with primitives also. If you have something prices, list of string of or integer of prices, you can pass that prices values also in the same way. Okay, using simple list and list you can pass them. Instead, if you have a collection dependency, right? If you have a collection dependency, I have a fruit. Now fruit is having here consider list of string fruits, list of string fruit names. Consider for this one also you have a setter method here. You have a setter method. So how to pass them? Same way, no difference. As this is list, right? You can use same list tag. Same list tag. Internally it will create an array list. Internally it will create an array list, and array list will be passed into your fruit names. If you use list. So instead of having list, if your fruit class is having, if your fruit pozo class, if it is having set, right? You know the difference between list and set. List will allow duplicate, set will not allow duplicate. So I have set of fruit names. So when you pass set, again it is same. Again it is same like list. Just we change the list to set. Here instead of using list, right, we use set. We use the set tag here. we use simple set tag here, and same set tag we will close here. We use set tag and we close with set tag. So this is how we can inject using set. So when you use set internally, it will use hash set, not hash set. Linked hash set it will use. Linked hash set it will use. Linked hash set it will use when you use the set tag. What about map? If I have map here, so map will contain basically key value pairs. Map will contain key value pairs. Class, country class I have. Country class is having country poso I have considered. Here I have a map of string, state name, and the capitals. State and capitals. States and capitals. States, capitals. I want to pass state and capital. So here you need a setter method for this one. So now when you want to call this setter method, you need to call this way: property name, states and capitals, and you need to pass map of values. How to pass map of values? So map will contain basically key value pair. Map will contain key value pair. So for map also we have a tag name called map only. For map we have tag map only, but you cannot pass a simple value inside map. You need to pass two values. One is key and one is value. So to pass two values, we have one tag name called entry. Okay, we have one tag name called entry key. Each one will have a key, right? The key and values you can pass here. Key and values you can pass here. TS and the value something HYD. So this way you can pass each key and value, each state and its capital. Each state and its capital. This way you can pass each state and its capital. Any number of keys and you can pass values. Any number of keys and values you can pass here. Any number of keys and values. So for map, we use map tag. When you use map, right, internally Spring will create linked hash map. Okay, for set linked hash set, for map linked hash map. Linked hash map object it will create. For list it will create array list. For list array list. For set linked hash set. For map linked hash map. Now the same way, instead of having map, the country is having the dependency in the form of properties. Right? Properties also similar to map only, right? Properties, key value pair. So if you have properties as a dependency, right? You have one more object here. Consider if this is a properties type. Okay, if it is a properties type, by default properties will take key value pair only, string and string. Properties will have string and string key values only. So I have properties, states and capitals, and here I have a setter method. Now how to inject it? Same way. So we use the same approach, but here, right, instead of using map, you need to use props. For map, you use props. It's a props. Instead of map, you use props. Props. You need to start with props and you need to end with props. So between props and props, you're gonna use not entry tag instead of entry, right? Instead of using entry tag here, Instead of using entry tag here, we use prop. Between props and props, we can use prop. So this is how you can pass properties. Okay, so property key and value it will pass. So here I hope it will use property object only. Properties object only it will create. Properties object only it will create. So to pass properties, we can use props, and you can pass key value pair. For passing map dependency, you can use map values you can pass. If you have any set dependencies, you can use set and list a set of values you can pass. If you have list dependency, you can use list and list of values. If you have array dependencies, also you can use list and pass list of values. This much easy, right? Your POSO class out of your application, right? You have many classes, many POSO classes. Out of these classes, few classes may have different dependencies, right? One of your class may have database properties dependency, database properties as a properties if you want to pass, like driver class name, URL, username, password. Yes, you can achieve it. If you have a properties dependency, yes, of course, your Spring can able to inject that properties. Here you can pass your driver name and actual driver name class, RKL driver, URL, actual RKL URL, username, your RKL username dependency. Similar way, if you have MySQL properties, MySQL properties. That way you can pass or utilize this dependency injection wherever your POSO class is having dependencies. If it have properties dependencies or map dependencies or set, list or array dependencies, anything you can inject, anything you can inject into your class. Okay, let us see an example. So your POSO class can have anything as a dependency. Spring is capable to supply that value from your XML file. Okay, so create a simple project, Java project. So three dependency injection of various types, right? Multiple types. Create a Java project, add your dependencies, build path, configure build path, add jars. Now let's have your POSO class here. POSO means your MVC class can be a controller or service. Don't consider it as a simple bean which we create for like student with properties. Not like that bean. A POSO means any class, any implementation class. Okay, any implementation class for your controller services, DAOs. You know. So I'll have a class here. I'll have a class here. I'm creating a car class or fruit class. So I have a class fruit. Now private string array of fruit names. Private integer array of prices. Private I'll have list of exporting countries, private set of customers, private map of exporting or states and capitals. Properties. Properties is something if you want to pass key and value. Okay. If you want to pass key and value, similar like map only. States and capitals and country capitals. So now I want to pass various types. As the dependencies I have string array, integer array, list type I have, set type I have, map I have, properties I have. For all of them, right? Have setter methods here. Generate setter methods so that I can able to inject these values from my file. And finally, I want to just print them, override to string method just to see them. Just whatever injected I want to see. Now inject all these values. Create a Spring XML file. One XML file would be enough for today's session. Okay, I'll use one XML file. Configure your fruit class here. Fruit class ID can be anything. Beans dot fruit. Bean fruit class. This fruit class is having various dependencies. String array of fruit names. So fruit names I want to set not only single value, right? It is a array value. I want to set array of values. When you want to set array of values, you can use list. Okay, see, these all are the child tags that are available. Use list. So between list and list, you can pass values. Array of fruit names. Value, apple, mango, banana. Okay, you can pass array of values. And if you want to pass prices, right, integer type. So here you have the next dependency prices, and it's an integer type. Okay, so if you want to pass prices which is integer, same thing. So you can pass prices. Apple 200, mango 100, banana 80. We can pass values here, similar like strings only. As this is array type, you can use list. So list of prices you can pass. And exporting countries. It's a list type. It's a list type, not array type. It's a list type. Though it is list also, you can use same list tag. Okay. So I wanted to pass exporting countries. So whatever countries exporting. And set list will allow duplicates basically when you pass something as a duplicate, like, so if you have America 2 type, you can pass as a list will not stop you adding duplicates. You can pass any number of times. right? And customers, set of customers. So it should not be duplicate. Whatever value you give right here, it should not duplicate. Again, if you repeat it, customers, set of customers, you can pass set of values here. You should not duplicate it. If you duplicate it also, it will not consider it. So I'm trying to duplicate it. Okay. So though you pass it one more time also, it will not consider it. Asset will not allow duplicate. And states and capitals, which is map type. States and capitals, which is map type. So when you want to set states and capitals, which is map type, for map, you use here map tag. Between map and map, you need to pass states, capitals, and its values. We should not use simple value. Instead of, we have a tag name called entry, right? Entry, you can pass key, the key name, and the value. So this is how you can pass states and capitals. As it is map type, you can use map tag. For each value, right, you can use entry. To pass each key and value, use entry. Any number of keys and values you can pass. As you know, map will not allow duplicate key. Again, if you repeat something, consider it might override existing value, or it will not allow new value. Either it can be, see, will it hold the previous value? Generally, it will override, right, when you use a duplicate key. Will it? Okay. Let us see. Country and capital. Properties of countries and capitals. Properties of countries and capitals. So properties, for properties you need to use props. Whereas for map, we use map tag. For properties, you can use props. Each props will have a prop. You can pass prop. So for prop, right, you will have key and value you need to pass here. Between prop and prop, you can pass value here. Like India, Delhi. Pakistan, Karachi. Lanka, Colombo. So like this, you can pass each property, its key and value. Okay. So if you see here, into my fruit class, I have fruit names as a string dependency, string array. String array, you can use list. And prices all is integer array. For integer array, you can use list and you can pass values. And I have a list to type, list of exporting countries. So you can use list tag only. And I have set of customers. You can use set with values. And I have states and capitals dependency, which is map. You can use map tag. For each key and value, you can use entry key and value. For properties, you can use props. For each property, you can use prop, pass key and value. Like this, okay? That's all. Your dependency injection will be taken care by IOC now. See how it will do. Run your application. Application. Only one XML I have, Spring XML. Okay, get a fruit bean. Get your fruit bean here. Just print it. Run. See this. So in console, we got this, right? So fruit names, whatever we have injected, fruit names is given here. And exporting countries, as it is allowing duplicate list, right? And customers is a set type. So I included America 2 times, but only 1 time given here because so it will not allow duplicate. States and capitals, which is map. See map, what happened? The latest value overriding here. Latest value overriding here. So map will not hold duplicate keys. So the latest value happened here. In countries and capitals, which are properties, same again as a key and value pair. So this is how you can inject it. Whatever we injected, the injected values it is printing here, right? Internally it will call toString method, so we could able to print them, right? This is how you can do simple dependency injection when your bean class is having any dependency types. Can be array, can be list, can be set, can be map, can be properties. Okay, are we clear?
Yes, Naveen.
Yeah, any doubts? Yeah,
Sir, can
it's
you go
pretty
to
straightforward.
paint page?
Bean,
What you paint
this
page
one.
means paint page means you draw the drawing.
Okay.
Go to top. Scroll down little bit. Wait. Scroll down. Sir, okay. Got it.
This section.
Now go down, go up, first set. Okay. Our set method name is fruits names and property name is fruits name. Can we type same here or can we difference?
What is that? This method name.
Yes.
No, different names you should not use. Use same name. If you use different name, it may not find that name setter method. Okay, this is your setter method. Generally, we generate, right? While generation, whatever property name you have, right? Same property name it will use for setter method name also. Okay, so try to keep this property name or setter method name. Anything would be fine. Your setter method
Okay.
name or your property name. Internally, Spring will take care. Finally, it is
Okay.
going to call your setter method only, right? So use this
Yeah.
name or this name. Just the difference
Okay.
is here it used to be capital letter, here it is small letter. That's it.
Yeah, that's why I'm confusing.
Okay, yeah, no confusion, right? Setter method name,
Yes,
keep
got
your
it.
property name. Keep your property name. Mostly we configure
Okay.
property name here as setter method names also fall into property names, right? Use the property name only, okay? No confusion.
Naveen, can we duplicate any property in XML file?
Yeah. So what will happen is, yes, that is the next topic, right? So if you want to override, already I have done configuration here, set fruit names. I want to override it. I want to do some corrections. So from here, I want to do that correction. Already I have above, I have configured fruit names. I want to do corrections here. Instead of apple, apple fruit, mango fruit, banana fruit, I want to pass different names. I want to pass. We can pass it. So what it will do, it will override. The latest call will override previous call. So set
Okay.
fruit names I have done at the starting with apple, mango, banana, and the end of the configuration again I'm passing different names: apple fruit, mango fruit, banana fruit. So when you do this, what will happen? The previous setter method you are trying to calling again and again the same setter. What will happen? Previous setter method values will be override. Object will hold only one object, right? One object will hold one fruit names array. So as I already said that fruit names here, again if you try to call and set it, what will happen? The previous values will be override with these new values. Okay,
Can't
so
can't we decide at runtime like which property has to be set?
fail fast offending resource class path. Actually it should override. Properties will allow to pass the values. Okay, maybe through parent child bin concept we can do this. Okay, it is not allowing basically here. Duplicate property, likewise it is saying. There is a child parent bean concept. There we'll try it. Okay, so this is not allowing to add duplicate property. So if we configure it, it is saying a duplicate setter method you are calling. We can override. Still, we can override by making another child class here. Okay, we'll show you that.
Like I just want to decide at runtime like which property has to be set. Is it possible in this configuration? Like we
Uh,
have
no,
property with
no, I haven't taken that case across. We don't have
okay.
that option. As I said, right, using child bin, you can do that. See,
Hmm. Okay.
in general, right, when we implement a class, and if you want to override something, what you will do, you will extend that into child class, and you will do right.
Yeah.
Existing
Yes.
classes, as per rules, right? I mean, if you are following good practices, we should not edit existing classes. The first thumb rule. Okay,
Okay.
so you
Mhm.
should not edit your class, and you should not do changes here. If you have any changes, let's extend it, do changes there, because a parent can have multiple childs. A parent
Mhm.
can have multiple childs. If you try to do some modifications here, all the childs will be affected. Your child's business will be affected. So instead,
Yes.
if you have some changes that you want to do, extend a class, your class into another class. There you do the changes. So that thing we can do here. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
We'll see that once dependency injection is done, we will see what is parent bean, what is child bean, how to configure, how to override that. Oops principles also we will implement here.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, here what we are discussing is any dependency a poso class can have. Any dependency a poso class can have. All that dependencies we can supply. Spring is having capability or capacity to pass these values. You can pass anything, arrays, collections, anything you can supply here. And I'm talking about a required collection dependency injection also. What is required collection? What is the need of it? As I already injected the collections, right? But there is a problem. If you carefully observe, I told you here, while injecting map or set or list, if I have a list dependency here, okay, whatever dependency list type you have here, but Spring is creating which object? array list object. When you use list and list, it will create array list object. When you use set, Spring is creating linked hash set object. When you have map here, it is creating linked hash map object. Consider right side you have this types, right? Left hand side you have interfaces. Map is interface, that's why it is accepting any implementation. Set is also a interface. Into interface it is accepting any implementation. Here also list is a interface, that's why it is accepting array list object. Consider if in case you have here instead of list dependency, same thing if you change it to linked list. We have linked list class also, right? Linked list of string, linked list of string fruit names if you want to pass. Linked list of string fruit names if you want to pass, then how to pass it? If I use array list, can you pass array list object into linked list? Is it possible in Java? You know guys, right? List is having two childs. Array list and linked list are siblings. We can't typecast them into each other. We cannot able to typecast linked list into array list or array list into linked list. There is a way that we can convert it, but directly these two are not parents and childs. They are brothers from one parent, or they are sisters from one parent. So array list directly you cannot able to pass into linked list. Similar way here you have linked hash set. It is passing linked hash set. Instead of that, here you have tree set dependency. Consider tree set dependency you have. You cannot able to pass linked hash set into tree set because these two are not parent chains. And here I am using map instead of map. Here it is passing linked hash map, right? Instead of map, I have a tree map here. Can we able to pass linked hash map into tree map? No, because they are also not parent and childs. So when you have such required collection dependencies, this simple tags will not serve our purpose. This list tag, as it is creating array list, you cannot able to pass it into linked list, and set, as it is creating linked hash set, you cannot able to pass it into tree set. Map, linked hash map, you cannot able to pass it into tree map. So in this scenario, what you need to tell to your container is, you need to inform your container, do not create array list object. Do not create array list object. My required dependency is different. So you need to mention that here. Along with your list tag, you need to mention the list class type. Which kind of class you want to create also, you can suggest to your IOC container. So there you can configure linked list. Similar way, for set also you can configure your required set class type. For map also you can configure required map type. Okay, so the required collection dependency injection and another class also having a dependency, right? A class can have another class dependencies also. These two we will see tomorrow, right? These two we will see tomorrow. Okay, just for today, go with this example. I'll send you soft copy today. Is it fine?
Just Naveen.
Good morning, sir. This is Supriya.